our story begins. 27 hours, 22 minutes, and 11 seconds before the murder takes place. Scarlett Adler, whose file has been redacted due to concerns for my safety, sits at the bar in her club, awaiting a visitor. As if on cue, Scott Blumhover. Wait. Sadie. Is that really his name?
Yep.
Blumhover. Okay, Scott enters the club, looking as though he'd rather be anywhere else than here.
Mr. Northcott, so good of you to stop by.
I will not be taking her last name.
And why not? It's a rather impressive name with quite a bit of respect behind it.
It's not respect, it's fear.
The two aren't mutually exclusive, silly. For example, people respect me because I put the fear of God into them. Vodka?
Sadler.
Oh, please call me Scarlett.
Scarlett, it's 9 in the morning and you're already drinking?
Yes, I'm afraid morning drinking is one of my many vices. Though, it can hardly be called that considering what my other ones are.
Oh, I may have made a mistake.
Don't worry, Scott. My vices don't include biting the hand that feeds me. Now, what is it you want me to take care of?
Henry Northcott.
You want me to kill Henry Northcott for you?
No, not kill him. I don't even think that's possible.
Then what is take care of me?
Not kill him. If you kill him, I can be charged with solicitation of murder, and jail would definitely prevent me from marrying Jenna.
Ah, you want to marry Jenna Northcott?
Yeah, and Mr. Northcott does not want me to marry his daughter. In fact, he has started my life several times unless I call off the engagement.
So call off the engagement. I'm sure with a face like yours, you can find hundreds of women willing to tear their tops off for you.
They won't be heard.
Please elaborate. Because if I know Henry Northcott as well as I think I do, and I do, then he will have absolutely no problems with killing you and will even do so with a wedding theme.
Anyone I could be with wouldn't be her. They wouldn't have her eyes or her smile or light up when they see a beautiful knife. It just wouldn't make me feel the way I do when I'm with her.
You do know what Henry is capable of, don't you?
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. Or else you'd have to be a fool to risk his anger. Henry Northcott has killed more people than you've ever met. His underground crime syndicate has a special policy. They're required to keep everyone they've been contracted to kill alive until Henry Northcott himself has had a chance to look into their eyes and make sure they know he was the one who killed them. Despite numerous sightings and a literal ton of evidence, he has never, and will never, be listed as a suspect. The police know to stay out of his business. So tell me, do you still want to marry Jenna Northcott, daughter of the infamous Henry Northcott, who would cut your head off without a second thought?
Yes.
Okay. I'll take care of that for you.
You will?
Yes. But you don't get something for nothing, Mr. Blum. Are you sure you don't want to take the name Northcott?
Scott Blumhover is my name. What's your price?
An invitation.
To the wedding?
Yes. The wedding of the daughter of a criminal of this magnitude will have some of the highest profile crooks attending. And I intend on being one of them.
We are not having criminals at our wedding.
Try telling that to Jenna's godfather. He's a known arsonist and would view your house as kindling if stiffed on an invitation.
Well, what am I marrying into?
If it helps any, your father commissioned a good many sex workers in his day.
How do you know my father?
I know everyone and everything in this town. That's how I'm still alive.
Yeah, but hiring sex workers isn't a crime on par with arson.
It promotes an industry that regularly kills and kidnaps women. Nobody's hands are clean in this world, Scott. But don't worry. I'm sure yours will stay pristine. After all, Jenna's never been involved in family business, has she?
It's not her fault! She was just a kid, she didn't know what was going on. You don't know her!
You must really love her. Or else you wouldn't be yelling at the only person who can help you. I'll do what I can about your daddy-in-law issues, but I must insist on that invitation.
What are you gonna do to him?
Talk. That's all I ever do. After all, I can't do anything to Henry that he hasn't already done to someone else.
Okay, I'll put you on the guest list.
Perfect. I'll see you at the wedding, Scott.
Mr. Bum Blubber exits the club, already regretting most of his life's decisions. A day later, James Hyde lurks on the street outside of Scarlet Adler's club, which now doubles as a crime scene. His intentions are unknown, even to himself. He's about to give up on his reasonless lurking when Nessa O'Connell is unceremoniously shoved onto the street, holding a jar of clear fluid.
How dare you, Richardson! I belong at the scene just as much as you do. You, hold this.
Nessa O'Connell?
Yeah? Who are you?
James Hyde. We went to elementary school together. Our parents are best friends. I spent the majority of my childhood at your house.
Oh yeah, you got taller.
That's a very you thing to say. Anyways, why am I holding this jar of water?
It's not water, it's embalming fluid.
Doesn't this stuff cause cancer?
Yes, but not in the 5 minutes you're going to hold it for. I have to go physically fight my way back into a crime scene.
Why?
Because they won't let me in.
Yeah, Nessa. It's a crime scene. I'm assuming there's a very select number of people who are allowed in, and most of them are with the police.
Well, luckily for me, I'm a private investigator who was hired to work this case.
Unable to plead deniability, Inspector Lawless enters the scene in an effort to placate Miss O'Connell.
You aren't allowed at crime scenes, Miss O'Connell.
Since when? Since I started solving more cases than you?
I'm a police detective, not a schoolgirl running for homecoming queen.
I am properly licensed. I've worked tons of cases and solved many murders that you didn't. Not to mention, I've been allowed in crime scenes before, and there have been no changes in rule or procedure that should prevent me from being allowed in now. Lawless.
Lease. It's Lawless. You should know that by now.
The internet says it's pronounced lawless.
Well, the internet's wrong, and you're still not allowed in.
She should be, though, shouldn't she? All she has to do is get logged in by the officer at the door.
What do you know about crime scene investigations, Mr.
Hyde. James Hyde. Well, more than you think. I'm just finishing up a degree in criminal law, which included taking a course on police procedure.
And you think one class makes you an expert on the subject?
Well, no, but being a defense lawyer
Law student.
does mean standing up for the rights
Finds loopholes.
of the marginalized, which in this case happens to be my good friend Nessa.
That's about the only even slightly true thing you've said.
Despite being unnecessary and uninvolved, Detective Richardson comes out to join in on the so-called fun.
You've told me several times that you don't have any friends.
Yeah, I told you that, Richardson, because you tried inviting me to your weird conspiracy theory clubs.
Well, when the line people who live in the sewers take over, you'll be sorry.
Do you mean lizard people?
No, there's no such thing as lizard people.
She was in a group for conspiracy theorists that was kicked out of other conspiracy theory groups.
You made the right choice.
Richardson, how is Miss O'Connell's lack of friends relevant to the present situation?
They're lying. Like I said, O'Connell doesn't have friends. So I'm guessing he's not even a real lawyer.
He's not. He's a law student. I thought that was pretty clear.
Well, actually, the only reason I can't say I'm a lawyer is because I'm still waiting for my official certification. It's supposed to be emailed out sometime this week, though, so...
Do you have any proof of your so-called education?
I have my degree, several photos, multiple rec letters from professors, and a pantry that only has ramen, canned corn, and flour in it.
Sounds like college to me.
Who do you work for?
Currently, no one.
Oh, really? Because I know the government sent you here to spy on us.
Richardson, you work for the government. They don't need to send people to spy on you.
You would say that.
Lawyer kid, what happens if I don't let Miss O'Connell into the scene?
I'll sue you for discrimination.
This isn't a matter of discrimination.
It's not, but it could easily be turned into one. If you've ever let any male PIs in before, I could easily spin this into saying that you didn't let Miss O'Connell into the scene due to her gender. After all, she is properly licensed and all that, so that's the only possible reason you would deny her entry.
Or maybe she's disrespectful of the scene and leaves her DNA everywhere.
Do you have any proof of this pattern of behavior? Because that doesn't sound like my client at all. And I'm sure we could find several eyewitnesses who would attest to Miss O'Connell being careful and out of the way at crime scenes.
That's only because she's friends with the forensic guys.
Are you friends with everyone except for me?
No, I'm not friends with lollies either.
I don't like being coerced, young man.
No one does, but they can't deny how effective it is.
Miss O'Connell, Richardson will take you up to the scene. But if you so much as breathe within 2 feet of the body, I will have you arrested for disturbing the crime scene. Understood?
Understood.
Oh, here, Nessa, take my card, just in case you get into any more situations.
Thanks, James.
Detective Richardson leads Miss O'Connell back into the crime scene. Mr. Hyde, his unknown intentions apparently fulfilled, attempts to amble away.
1 minute, son.
Oh, yes, sir?
That was a dangerous move you pulled just there. Threatening a cop? You must like Miss O'Connell quite a bit.
She's an old friend, sir, and I like to make sure people are treated fairly.
Well then, in the spirit of fairness, allow me to warn you that I'll be watching you closely from now on. 1 toe out of line is all I need.
Fortunately, I'm rather good at tightrope walking.
Mr. Hyde, rather pleased with himself for thinking of a comeback so quickly, walks away, leaving the tired old inspector, if even possible, more frustrated than before. As most murder mysteries require a certain amount of exposition, we are now going to take a journey into the past. Specifically, we are talking of 3 years, 7 days, and, let's call it 12 hours before the murder is committed. Scarlett is once again sitting in her club, doing what her taxes list as charity work. In this case, charity work seems to entail listening to Sarah Dent rant. I'm going to kill him!
Wait,
I don't want to wait.
you need to.
The things he did to her, they just...
He's an asshole, it's what he does.
He shouldn't be allowed to.
That's what I help with.
What? Keeping justice from getting served? The world would be a better place if there were no secrets. Instead, you take bribes to stay quiet about them.
Really? Because I doubt Mrs. Henley would thank you for telling her husband that their child isn't actually his.
Look, he's going to get away with everything, and you're going to let him.
Let is such a strong word. I don't just let things happen. I guide them.
I'm not going to stand for this. If you don't tell anyone, I will.
Now, let's see what I have on you, Miss Dent.
The thing you need to know about Scarlett Adler is she knows everything. Unfortunately, the human brain is not designed to hold on to that much information, so she must rely on a locked, fireproof filing cabinet. It is from this file cabinet that she produces a green folder with a tab entitled Sarah Jane Dent.
Oh my. You're rather young for someone with such a traumatic background.
You can't use that file against me. I'm proud of my family. And you can't change that.
As you should be. But that doesn't change the fact that I can't let you tell anyone. It risks my position. So, let me offer you a compromise. This girl is Nessa O'Connell. She just graduated with a bachelor's in chemistry and is working on her master's in criminology with the intent of becoming a private investigator. She's writing her thesis on how Henry Northcott has used his power to prevent any litigation regarding his well-known crimes. why should I care? She provides you with perfect access to him. They're childhood friends, after all. There's no way that he stays in contact with her anymore. James Hyde wants Henry Northcott dead just as much as the rest of us. Once the monster's gone, James will make sure he's friends with someone who is biasly convinced of his innocence. Like, maybe a childhood friend. And who could skew the proof that way? Like, perhaps a PI. How convenient Miss O'Connell will seem then. And you, as her roommate, will have the perfect opportunity to strike. Not happening. I'm going to the police. With what exactly? It's not a police-level crime, is it? It should be. Then we'd be living in a police state. Besides, this is personal. You want to be the one to fix it. I don't have to listen to you. I came here for your help taking him down, not for advice on letting go and making a friend. Did I say anything of the sort? No. I said, bide your time, get close to the people he's bound to be close to, and strike when the opportunity arises. Okay. What if the timing is never right? It will come. You just need to be patient. Now, should I put you in contact with Miss O'Connell, or would you rather get arrested for assaulting a seemingly innocent man? I don't want to be roommates with a girl who's obsessed with Henry Northcott. You know what he did to my family. Did I say she was obsessed with Northcott? I said she's writing her thesis on how he's corrupted our judicial system. Something I believe you have personal experience in. It's something I don't want to be reminded of every day of my life. Honey, you already are. She's not going to make it any worse, but she might be able to make it better. Do you think her thesis will have any effect on what Northcott does? No. The only way to truly stop Northcott is to kill him. Okay, well, why is she even writing it? Ignoring a problem doesn't make it go away. Secretly hoping it will doesn't help much either. You have to acknowledge what's happened before anything else can get done. And if people don't care, or if they're too scared to do anything. Are you too scared to do anything? No, I'd kill Henry Northcott given the chance. I'll give Miss O'Connell your phone number then.
With more questions than answers, we now return to the crime scene. The day of the murder. Detective Richardson stands by, waiting patiently for Miss O'Connell, who is talking on the phone. Were this the murder of anyone else, talking on the phone whilst on scene might be seen as rude. But considering our profession of our victim, it seems to be the least he deserved.
Sarah, I'm at a crime scene. No, I know that taking care of myself is important. No, I get that. Yeah, okay, I'll make sure I don't leave pig hearts out where anyone can accidentally slip on them. I gotta go. Bye, Sarah. So where's the body?
In that room, but you're not allowed in there.
Why not?
Because Lolly's told me not to let you in there.
Since when?
There was a briefing this morning for all the officers involved.
He's not your boss. You know that, right? As a detective yourself, you answer to your captain, not him.
I'm still not letting you in there. He says you always leave the crime scene a mess.
I never touch anything.
But you're always shedding hair. Apparently it's all the lab techs ever find.
Hair analysis is a bug science anyway. Who's that in the corner?
Ah, yes. Jenna Northcott sits in the corner, reliving the murder scene she just walked in on, over and over again in her head. It feels like I shouldn't have forgotten her, but to be completely honest, I have been drinking a substantial amount since we first started, and the stakes are inevitable. You'll have to forgive
That's Jenna Northcott, the deceased daughter. She's the one who found him. Said they had plans to discuss her upcoming wedding. She's our suspect.
You mean one of your suspects?
No, she's our only suspect. She clearly did it.
And what makes you think that?
Well, she was the last person to see him alive and the first person to find him dead. Her father refused to give his blessing for her upcoming wedding, given her motive. And she's Henry Northcott's daughter. For all we know, she's as ruthless as he was.
I don't think she did it. It doesn't feel right.
Well, fortunately, your opinion doesn't matter. Only the facts do.
And what are the facts?
Henry Northcott, age 57, was attacked earlier this morning. After his daughter, Jenna Northcott, stepped out to take a smoking break, his attacker hit him on the back of the head with a glass bottle that shattered upon impact, leaking some sort of chemical that caused burns.
What chemical?
We don't know yet, and you really should not be so excited about chemical burns.
Sorry, it's not often I get to use my chemistry degree in real life. Please continue.
At that point, Northcott was still alive, although unconscious, so his attacker slit his throat, allowing him to bleed out. Minutes later, Jenna Northcott arrived and dialed 911.
That doesn't mean she was the killer.
Well, it doesn't mean she wasn't either.
Having concluded a frustrating conversation with Mr. Hyde, Inspector Lawless enters the crime scene to have an equally frustrating conversation with Miss O'Connell.
Miss O'Connell, I'm glad to see Richardson has been able to keep you out of the way. I don't need your DNA contaminating the body.
That's okay. I'm much interested in talking to Miss Northcott than seeing another corpse.
You can't talk to my #1 suspect.
I have freedom of speech. Now move.
It's not what freedom of speech is referring to.
Excuse me, Miss Northcott, may I ask you a couple of questions?
Miss O'Connell, I must insist you not pester my witness.
Witness? I thought you said she was a suspect.
Officially, she's a witness.
I'm sorry, are you not with the police?
No, I'm a private investigator who was hired to work this case.
By who?
Scarlett Adler, the club owner.
She hired a private investigator?
Yeah, well, people dying in her club is bad for business. And plus, she wants to make sure the guilty party is held responsible.
And she thinks she'll do a better job than I will.
I'll answer your question.
Great.
No, she won't. You aren't on this case.
Sorry, but she doesn't work for you. She's free to answer any of the questions she'd like to. And regardless, it's a bit insensitive to argue at this time, don't you think? The poor girl just lost her father. Miss Northcott, I am terribly sorry for your loss.
I'm not.
Called it!
What?
My dad was a dick. I mean, I know that doesn't help my case, but I'm not going to pretend to be sorry he was murdered. I mean, he was my dad, but he did a lot of shit that warranted this.
Can you tell me about what happened around the time of the body?
About a month ago, I got engaged to my boyfriend, Scott Blumhover.
Blumhover!
Anyway, my dad kind of hates him.
Why?
He says he's too nice. Meaning? I mean, he's never killed anyone or gotten arrested for assault. He's never even stolen from a grocery store before, and that's like barely illegal.
So, did your dad want him to take over the family business or something?
No, but he wanted him to be able to protect me from my dad's enemies. Like, I don't have monogrammed brass knuckles of my own.
And you think she's innocent?
Shut up, Richardson.
Well, anyway, my dad asked me to come here to try to talk me out of getting married to Scott, but he was never actually going to get me to do it, but I had to try to convince him to pay for the wedding. My dress alone is $2,000. So we spent 15 minutes screaming at each other before I had to get out of there. I made up some excuse about a smoking break, but I've never even had a cigarette before.
Right, and in that time, instead of smoking, you killed your father.
Richardson, that's poor detective work. You can't present a bias.
I'm not. All evidence points to Jen as the murderer. She has the motive, the opportunity, and the training.
Richardson, if I have to tell you again, I'll kick you out.
You have no authority to do that.
I don't need authority. All I need is a foot. Back to you, Miss Northcott.
I came back after my smoking break after about 10 minutes, and I found dead. There was blood everywhere, and half his face was burnt off. I can't get it out of my head.
I'm so sorry.
So, should we take her in now or wait for the DNA to come back?
We already know my DNA is going to be in that room. I was in there before he got killed, but that doesn't prove that I killed him.
Sure it doesn't.
I know it's hard to believe, but I was framed or something.
I believe you've been framed.
May I ask why?
Because Richardson doesn't. She is so reliably wrong that taking any side other than hers is right. Here, I'll prove it. Richardson, what is the moon made of?
Well, everyone thinks it's made out of Swiss cheese, but it's actually made of honeycombs built by giant intergalactic bees 500 million years ago.
And what about the moon landing?
Obviously, they had to return the bees that fell to Earth during the moon construction back to their hive and had to find a way to cover it up.
And what about the astronauts who are said to land on the moon and return to Earth?
They're brainwashed by the government. They think they actually went to the moon, but really they spent 7 days in Australia.
I rest my case.
Fine, if I'm so wrong all the time, then prove it. In the meantime, Jenna Northcott, you are under arrest. Come see her at the station.
Detective Richardson handcuffs Miss Northcott, to the surprise of everyone. They hadn't realized the department had allowed her to have handcuffs. Miss Northcott is led away from a flabbergasted Miss O'Connell. Since we are continuing, we must journey again back into the past. In particular, we now take us back to 4 years, 178 days, and I think 19 hours before the murder is committed. Scarlett is once again in her club, enjoying a drink at an inappropriately early hour, when James Hyde bursts into the room.
James Hyde!
What do you have on me?
Nothing. Except that you snuck into the evidence and records room of multiple police stations illegally.
No, I didn't.
Honey, I already know about it. You don't have to lie.
What do you want?
Your face.
Like a leather face type thing?
No, ew, I'm not gonna make a mask out of your face. Everyone thinks I'm so much more evil than I am. What is with that?
Then what do you want?
I want to use your connections, ergo your face, to gather information.
What connections? I'm young and broke.
Which means you're invisible to older people. You're just the naive assistant they don't notice until they need you. You have an unpaid internship at the city prosecutor's office, correct?
Yes.
So, I'll tell you what to keep a lookout for and you'll report back.
So, breaking the law will keep me out of jail?
I'm not sure if you're actually breaking the law by giving the information. You might be breaking your moral code. But the law...
And how much jail time will I get if you release the information you have on me?
The jail time doesn't matter. What matters is that going to jail makes you a criminal. And it is very difficult for a criminal to get a job, let alone a job as a lawyer.
I'll spy for you, but I will not be happy about it.
That's fine. But before you go, there's a question I would love to have you answer.
What?
Why?
Why agree to work for you?
Why do you need to work for me in the first place? Stealing police files seems like such a bizarre choice of crime.
Henry Northcott murdered my father. The police have all this evidence I could convict him on any number of crimes, but they don't do shit with it. I was going to be the one who did.
Didn't exactly find what you were looking for, huh?
My dad's a good person.
What makes someone a good person? Their actions or their beliefs?
I'm not here to argue philosophy with you.
How good could he have been? After all, you don't become police commissioner in this city without help from organized crime.
It wasn't like that. He had to do those things. He had to protect his city from corrupt cops who were actively working for the mob, even if it meant that he corrupted himself.
I envy you, James. You can look at your father's shady deals with a crime syndicate and see the good he did in preventing someone worse from becoming commissioner. I can't even look at a microwave without thinking of all the people I know who've stuck a spoon in there to burn someone's house down.
I'm naive. I know.
No, you're just not cynical. I've spent my life thus far chronicling every misdeed I could find. It wears away at you. It's hard to remember that we live our lives in an array of grays when I spend so much time looking at the black. Anyway, my 2 o'clock will be here any minute now, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
How will you let me know what I'm supposed to be looking out for?
I have my ways. Goodbye, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, great. Ominous response. See you later, Scarlet.
Morning after the murder, 8:18. Jenna Northcott sits in a cold interrogation room, contemplating how best to convince the police that she is innocent. Unfortunately, the first solution she continues to come up with is murder. After a moment, Inspector Lawless enters the room, bearing the requisite day-old cup of coffee and police file.
Hello, Miss Northcott.
I didn't kill him, and frankly, I'm surprised you'd accuse me.
Detective Richardson accused you. I believe you're innocent, but you need to prove it to me.
No, it's your job to prove I didn't.
It was my job. But we have more than enough evidence to convict you, so now it's your job to make our evidence seem less convincing.
Fuck off.
Excuse you?
I said fuck off. You know I didn't kill him, but you're gonna put me in jail just so you can say you put someone away for the murder of Henry Northcott. You don't care about the truth, just getting the quickest answer.
Trust me, Miss Northcott, I don't want to put you in jail. But I don't have a choice unless you can somehow prove it wasn't you. You're the only DNA we found at the scene. Well, you and Miss O'Connell's, but the lab techs just ignore her contamination now. Regardless, people trust DNA more than any other kind of evidence these days.
No shit, my DNA was in that room. It's not like I magic eraser every room before I leave just in case a murder happens there later.
Miss Northcott, for the moment, we're going to assume you're innocent. Now, is there anyone else who would like to kill your father?
The entire city.
Anyone who especially wanted to kill your father?
No, the entire city.
Miss Northcott, if you aren't going to cooperate...
I can't tell you anything you don't already know.
Tell me about your fiancé.
If you touch him, you're gonna have to put me in jail for a different murder.
That is no idle threat. There's something you need to know about Jenna Northcott, and that is that she gets what she wants. In this case, what she wants happens to be a dorky fiance. Speaking of Mr. Broom Hoobler, he happens to burst into the interrogation room right about at this moment, almost as if it were planned.
Jenna, what's going on?
Wait, how did you know I was here?
A private investigator called me.
O'Connell!
Having invoked the name of his age-old foe, Inspector Lawless Reeves leaves the interrogation room, leaving Mr. Blue Bloomers and Miss Northcott to discuss their predicament.
Jenna, what's going on?
I didn't kill him, and I need you to know that. Please believe me, I didn't kill him.
I believe you. Of course I believe you. For one thing, you can't even keep a secret for shit.
That's true. I never had to learn how to. Everyone already knew what was going on.
For another thing, I know you. You're not a killer.
I know, but I'm not an innocent either.
Yeah, but you only steal things and mildly assault people. Besides, sling a throat, there's no style in that. It just makes a mess.
You're right. If I was gonna kill someone, I'd go for poison. It's much classier.
You have no right to talk to this witness.
You've forgotten about attorney-client privilege.
You're not an attorney.
I know, but he is.
The he in question slams open the interrogation room door with a flourish. And to increase the drama of the situation, feather boa.
Sup, bitches? And sir,
Since when is Mr. Hyde a real lawyer?
as of an hour ago when I got my official certification.
This is ridiculous.
By law, I have the right to speak with my client alone.
What about Miss O'Connell?
She's part of my defense team.
And Mr. Blumhover?
Blumhover? That's not a real name.
That would be my last name.
It's my fiance.
He can stay too.
So, I'm the only one being kicked out of my own interrogation room?
You seem tense, detective. Maybe you should take up a hobby, like gardening. or Sudoku.
Perhaps ripping weeds out of the ground will help me relax. Thank you, Mr. Hyde, for your brilliant suggestion.
So, I know you're the PI girl from the crime scene.
Nessa O'Connell, nice to see you again.
But who's he?
I'm James Hyde, your new defense attorney, assuming you don't already have one.
I don't. Dad never needed a defense lawyer before. Everyone was too scared to prosecute him, and frankly, I think it's a little sexist that they're okay to prosecute me.
I don't think it's sexist. I think you just don't have the cruel reputation your father did.
That does not mean I'm not as cruel as he was.
That's an example of something we will not say to lollies.
I'd like to see him try to put me in jail.
He can, very easily. It's estimated that at least 1 in 25 people aren't guilty. It's estimated that at least 1 in 25 people on death row aren't guilty. People get convicted based on how the jury feels, rarely on the quality of the actual evidence.
So I'm screwed.
No, you're not. We just need to solve this case before you get convicted.
Good luck with that. Everyone in the city wanted to kill him.
It doesn't matter about who wanted him dead. It matters about what changed in the last month or so. Can you think of anything?
Scott and I got engaged.
Can you think of anything that doesn't make you sound like a suspect?
Mr. Northcott recently found out that Jenna's mom had been secretly hiring security guards for him for years. He got rid of them.
So he was walking around without security for the first time in years.
Yeah.
That leaves openings for a lot of people with old grudges against him.
Yeah, but what I don't get is how the killer knew where Northcott was going to be. This wasn't a scheduled thing, right, Jenna?
No, this would be a first.
Exactly. So how did the killer know that Northcott was going to be at Scarlett's club?
Maybe they were tracking his phone?
No, he only ever used burners for this exact reason.
Maybe he was secretly implanted with a tracking device.
That's a really stupid theory, James.
We don't actually have to solve this case, right? We can just get me out on how flimsy their evidence is.
It's a possibility, but there's also a very real possibility that the jury will convict you simply based on who you are.
She's not a killer!
No, but she's the daughter of a killer. His bad reputation makes every little thing she does seem like a neon road sign that reads, "Future Killer." Oh, this entire prosecution will be solely a character assassination.
Well, Detective Richardson, managing to dampen an already drenched mood, decides to make her appearance.
Your friend in the morgue has been looking for you.
Oh, good. I've been needing more information on the body. Jenna, we'll talk later. Plead the fifth and don't tell them anything else you've already said.
Oh, really? So you're friends with her now and not me?
I'm part of her defense team. We're not exactly friends.
Why don't you like me?
Well, you refuse to listen to reason. You make fun of me all the time. On that day that I wore green, you made up the nickname Wicked Bitch of the West. Why would I like you?
Yeah, well, you're no ray of sunshine either.
I don't think
You're always solving the real detectives' cases before we can even properly look into them, and are always calling us idiots because of it. Not to mention, you stole my crush.
Can we just...
I didn't even go on a date with him. I can't control who falls in love with me.
Ladies! As fascinating as this all is, I can't help but feel like we should be focusing on the case and not the petty grievances you both have against each other. Not to mention, it is incredibly disrespectful to be fighting like this in front of a suspect and their fiancé.
Sorry.
Now, Nessa, let's go talk with your mortician friend. Detective Richardson, lead the way.
The bow-wearing attorney, the indignant PI, and the conspiracy theorist all exit the interrogation room in what has to be the lamest joke of all time.
That is my defense team.
On the plus side, I don't think they've asked us to pay them.
In what is sadly our last flashback of this tale, we must journey once again to Scarlett's Club. What a surprise. Approximately 6 years, 212 days, and 19 minutes before the murder is committed. Scarlett is once again sitting at her bar when Inspector Lawless enters. Though he is years younger and quite fetching, the inspector looks as tired as I feel as he slumps into his chair.
Detective! Always nice to see you.
Pour me a drink.
Your manners need improving, I see.
I've got shit on you, you've got shit on me. You don't need manners when you're in a standoff.
This isn't a standoff, Gregory. It's a standstill. One day, one of us will do something worse that will force the other's hand. Until that day, I believe we should at least tend some semblance of civility.
Well, I already have to be civil with everyone else I meet. I'm tired of it.
If you'd like me to be impolite, then I will be. But you should think very carefully about how that would work out for you.
Just keep your mouth shut about me. You can act any other way you want.
If all you need is for me to keep your secret, then get out of my club.
Perfect. But I have some information you might want to know. I'm assuming you have a file on Henry Northcott?
No. I can't use any information against him if no one will hold him accountable. Therefore, he lacks a file.
The fucker started stealing high-class art and it makes no sense. I mean, you can't sell anything that famous because people know you don't legally own it. And then you can't legally display it. And the only thing you do with art is display it so that all of your asshole neighbors can see how rich and important you are. And he isn't doing this for his love of art. He hates art. He doesn't have a single piece in his house. No, instead, he just displays old, priceless books. That's it. No paintings or sculptures or nothing. Just books.
Why do I care about his newfound love of art?
Because it's a pattern diversion.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Look, I've been working for him in the police since I was 25. I know his MO like the back of my hand, both from seeing it happen and from analyzing crime scenes after the fact. I think I know his MO, and I think I know if it was off brand.
It's not a pattern diversion. It's a way of getting his daughter involved in the family business. She's 16 now, Gregory. That's plenty old enough to learn how to become a criminal.
I'm sick of it.
Besides, she has to learn the basics before she can take her father's place when the time comes. This is her training.
I'm so sick of it. He never tells me shit and just expects me to cover his tracks for him. Do you know how many times the lab techs have found my fingerprints at crime scenes I've had to clean up for him? I've taken to forgetting to wear gloves so they find it less suspicious.
How terrible.
What do I get out of all of this?
Money.
Yeah. But I can't even be open about my money. Then people would know that I work for Northcott, so I can't even buy nice things. Instead, I just have to sit on it and wait until I retire so I can leave the country and finally spend it without people questioning where it came from. Honestly, I'm so sick and tired of working for him. Especially since he doesn't even appreciate the work I do.
So stop.
He'd kill me.
It would certainly help you to shut up.
Oh, I'd kill him before I let him kill me.
So do it. I'm sure to cop yourself, you can easily make it look like it wasn't you.
No, I'm not gonna kill him.
You're no fun. Why wouldn't you kill him?
Would you kill him?
Without hesitation.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter if he's dead. I'd still be killed. Someone would avenge his murder. And then where am I? In hell next to the man I killed.
Huh. That's odd.
What?
That you're still here. I've already told you once to get out of my club.
Are you really going to kick me out? After all, I could easily arrest you for extortion.
And I could reveal your connections to Henry. I wonder, can evidence gathered by a corrupt cop be used legally in court?
And we're back to our standoff.
Stand still.
The two foes glare at each other, all manner of tension emanating from their stares.
And now, dear friends, if I have earned the privilege of calling you dear friends, I am afraid that I am
am out of alcohol. As I cannot legally endorse you to get blackout drunk at a Tamu performance, I myself will have to get drunk on your behalf. Once I refill my glass, please enjoy silence.
If she's sobered up or got more more drunk. Maybe she had coffee. No, more good.
With a fresh martini in hand, we now return to our story. Detective Richardson stands halfway through the door to the morgue, signaling Mr. Hyde and Miss O'Connell to stop.
Wait here. Neither of you are allowed at the morgue.
I'm surprised you didn't invite her on that.
I don't need to. Sarah tells me everything I need to know about the body. Sometimes more than what I want to know.
How'd you become friends with the mortician anyways?
Sarah's my roommate. Her being a mortician was just good luck. She answered my ad in the newspaper about 3 years ago.
Wait, you put an ad in the newspaper?
Well, how else was I supposed to do it?
You ask friends or family for someone to live with. You don't put an ad in the newspaper. Anyone could have answered it.
I am more than capable of handling myself, James. You forget that since this morning we hadn't seen each other since we were 11. You have no idea what I'm capable of handling.
I know you can take care of yourself, but that doesn't mean I get to stop worrying.
Very sweet moment, but as all nice things, it has to be ruined a moment later by Detective Richardson. She re-enters the morgue, followed by Sarah Dent. The poor girl has only a moment to register her anger, surprise, and resentment at seeing James Hyde unexpectedly before she's able to force a smile. It is only her fist clenching the small device in her hand that gives her true feelings away.
James Hyde.
Sarah Dent? Oh,
It's been a while.
yeah, sorry about that. Your sister made it very clear that I was not allowed to speak to anyone who knew her ever again.
Oh, how dramatic of her.
For the first time, Mr. Hyde takes in the large number of red stains on the front of Miss Dent's apron. She smiles for real at seeing his horrified look.
Oh, I'm so sorry about the blood. It's just one of the hazards of being a mortician.
It's a lot of blood.
Oh, what blood type? Be positive.
Japanese blood type personality theory really does hold up. Have you examined the heart yet? I want to know if I was right about his heart disease.
I'll have to check for blocked arteries. They're pretty hard to find with all the blood and everything in there.
Can we please stop talking about blood?
What's that in your hand?
A tracking device. One of the old commissioners installed it in Northcott, telling him that it was to make sure they didn't catch him on the scene. Actually, he was using it to build a case against Northcott. That is, until Northcott found out, had him killed, and replaced the old commissioner before any of that could happen.
You were right about the tracker.
That commissioner was my dad.
How's the autopsy going?
It was a violent death, I can tell you that.
How are you holding up?
I'm fine. Why did you ask that?
She's autopsied up a disfigured and horribly murdered corpse.
Yeah, but she's used to that. O'Connell, why wouldn't she be okay?
Sarah's mother was framed by Northcott for murder 10 years ago.
And you didn't disclose this information to anyone?
Lawless knows. He took my accusations when he took my statement when the accusations first arose. He didn't see any problem with me performing the autopsy.
Well, he should have. You have an emotional link to the victim. That could compromise your work.
Richardson, I was just doing my job.
I'm calling in Johnson to take over. Honestly, it's like everyone is connected to Northcott. What is with that?
Completely exasperated, Detective Richardson walks fully away to make her phone call.
I didn't know.
You didn't know? You only dated my sister for a year.
She told me your mom died in a car crash.
Well, she didn't, and you should know that. Henry Northcott framed our mother for our neighbor's murder. He broke into our house, stole one of our kitchen knives, and stabbed him. My mother fought with this neighbor all the time, so of course, no one ever questioned. It didn't matter that Northcott publicly took credit for the crime. She's still serving life.
I know how you feel.
No, you don't.
Henry Northcott killed my dad and came to the funeral. He looked me in the eyes and told me that my dad may have been a good man, but that even good men die when they get in the way of other people's happiness. Like that monster knew what it was like to be happy.
But he did. Henry Northcott was a monster, don't get me wrong, but he had a wife and a kid who apparently loved him enough to hire security guards to protect him. We keep thinking about his reputation, not who he really was.
Yeah, I know that he's human. I was cutting up his body a few seconds ago. Where are you going with all of this, Nessa?
I don't know. I just don't understand why he wasn't murdered sooner. Your reputation only protects you so much.
Maybe the timing wasn't right.
You got anything new on the body?
Yeah, a couple things. First, Northcott didn't fight back against his killer. His wounds are too neat and his nails are immaculate. Second, the chemical that he was attacked with was sodium hydroxide, which has severely screwed up any chance of me examining the face. And lastly, I found a few pieces of the container that the chemical was stored in his scalp. Someone was using a glass to carry around sodium hydroxide. Doesn't that seem a little precarious to you? Why carry around glass? Why not use a plastic bottle and pour it over Northcott's head? Like, why glass?
Yeah, there's a large chance that the flask would break. And sodium hydroxide is corrosive to glass, so it would have eaten through it given a couple of hours.
Can we take a second to talk about how crazy it is that someone initially tried to kill Henry Northcott by bonking him over the head with a flask full of chemicals? I mean, it sounds like something from a B-list horror movie.
Yeah, it is an odd way to kill someone. It wasn't even effective. The killer had to slit Northcott's throat too.
Have we found the knife that did that yet?
No.
Did this help us at all?
Well, we know our killer was an idiot who tried to be dramatic and failed. But that doesn't narrow it down at all. Oh, but the tracker! Do we know who has access to Northcott's location?
Oh, yeah. Anyone with access to the police database, and anyone with the skills to hack into the police database, and anyone with enough money to pay someone to hack into the police database.
It still helps.
Miss Dent, her purpose serves, now exits the scene. And Miss Detective Richardson will now re-enter, having finished her phone call. Although the call itself only took 2 minutes, she has spent the rest of the time berating the idiocy of her colleagues.
Dent, Johnson's here. He needs you to walk him through what you've already done.
All right. Duty calls. I'll see you at home, Nessa. James.
Sarah, purpose served, sachet chantés away.
Did she seem a little hostile to you guys?
Oh yeah, she hates you. She's very vocal about it.
She hates me? Specifically? What did I do?
Something to her sister. She doesn't like to talk about it.
What? But her sister...
I think it's time to go talk to my client.
We don't have any news for them.
I know, but I believe she's hiding some things from me. And we're gonna go find out what.
Why is everyone being so dramatic lately? She's been keeping things from me. Well, so's the government, but you don't see me go around obviously saying it. Honestly, I'll be so glad when this investigation is over.
Since it was already 5 o'clock and you get what you pay for, Nessa O'Connell decided that it was time to, as I believe no one says, knock off. We journey now to back where Jenna Northcott sits in an interrogation room, apparently forgotten by the police, despite being their #1 suspect in a murder investigation. Luckily, she's got Scott to keep her company. The two spent the night deep in conversation about the wedding and whether or not Miss O'Connell would be able to clear the charges. And as the night got deeper, thoughts they'd never discussed with anyone else. They eventually fell asleep, sitting upright in uncomfortable metal chairs, still holding hands. listen until Inspector Lawley slams open the interrogation room door the next morning around 11, that the two finally wake up.
You can't interrogate me without my lawyer here. I know my rights.
I'm not here to interrogate you. I'm here to ask you for anything you can give us that would exonerate you of the murder.
I already told you, I have no idea how to convince you I'm innocent.
Do you have any new evidence we could look at?
I have some security tapes.
The inspector places a laptop on the interrogation room table and begins a tape. They sit in silence, watching for a moment, until a figure appears on the screen.
That's the killer.
Thank you, ma'am. We would have never figured it out without you.
Well, she doesn't look anything like me, so it's not me, case closed.
It's a disguise. If I fast forward, you can see them adjusting their weight. There are several minutes in between the killer being seen on the tapes and you being seen on the tapes that would have allowed you to change into the disguise.
But I didn't.
I know. Look, the video is low quality. It proves nothing other than a person walked into and out of the club after you left, which you could already safely assume.
You know, the person in the tapes kind of looks like that PI girl.
It does kind of look like Nessa.
Doesn't it?
But, like you said, this doesn't prove anything.
No, unfortunately, it doesn't. Which is why I'm back here again to see if you can come up with anything to get you off.
Aren't there tapes that show me in the alley?
Miss Adler doesn't have any cameras back there. She wants her clients to feel safe making shady deals in the alley.
Scott, is there anything I'm not thinking of?
No.
Are you sure you didn't smoke a cigarette on your break? We could find it and match it to your DNA to prove that you weren't in the building at that time.
I know, but I don't actually smoke.
I hired Scarlet Adler to blackmail Mr. Northcott into accepting my marriage with Jenna.
Babe, why didn't you tell me? Dad would have paid for the whole wedding if he knew how to blackmail him.
You hired Miss Adler to kill him.
No, not kill him. Just blackmail him a little.
How much money did you pay?
I didn't. All she wanted was a wedding invitation.
What could you possibly want with the wedding invitation?
To celebrate our love?
Babe, I'm so touched. You commit a felony for me.
So you didn't ask Miss Adler to murder Henry Northcott?
No, I specifically asked her not to.
Do you think Miss Adler would ignore your instructions and murder him anyway?
I have no idea. I've never done an underhanded deal before.
Perhaps I better question her more thoroughly.
I don't get it. Why would Scarlet hire a PI to look into my dad's case if she was guilty?
People have done a lot of things to make themselves seem less guilty. Besides, as your fiance pointed out, that person in the video looks a lot like Miss O'Connell herself.
But why would she help a murderer?
What's a better cover than hiring the guilty party herself to investigate, make sure the police aren't onto you, and clean up the scene while she's at it? We still haven't found the knife.
But I just don't think Nessa would do that.
You know, she published her master's thesis about 2 months ago over your father and his remarkable ability to, as she puts it, avoid the consequences of his monstrous actions. Miss O'Connell does have a strict moral code that she unwaveringly sticks to, but that moral code is an eye for an eye. My guess is that she doesn't consider the murder of your father to be unwarranted.
I mean, I don't either, but that isn't proof that she's involved.
I never said it was. I'm simply pointing out that perhaps looking further into Miss O'Connell and Miss Adler would not be amiss. After all, Miss O'Connell's was the only other DNA we found at the scene aside from yours. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go question.
With the look of a man far too pleased about the potential of one of his colleagues being a murderer, Lawley's ambles out of the interrogation room.
Do you really think that sweet PI girl would kill someone?
I mean, you hired someone to blackmail my dad, so anything's possible.
It was one time.
I love you too.
Love you more.
I love you more.
Hey, I solicited extortion for you. What felony did you commit for me?
I stole your heart.
Yeah, you did.
On that cliche note, we must journey once again to Scarlet's club. Approximately 5 minutes before the inspector leaves the station to come and question her. It's eerily quiet in the club, as normally crowded places often are when the people are absent. Miss O'Connell sits waiting patiently at the only occupied table, enjoying the quiet. Meanwhile, Mr. Hyde sits opposite her, sweating worse than a whore in church. Miss Adler smiles upon entering to see them waiting for her.
I haven't seen that gorgeous of a table since the models from Project 1 when I came in here.
This is your client?
Hey, Scarlet. How are you?
I'm alive. For now. Tell me, darling, in your professional opinion, how do you think I'll die?
Isn't there a more pressing matter for us to be talking about?
There is nothing more pressing than death. I could die in the next second and never know how. Won't you tell me?
If I had to guess, I'd say you get strangled by an entitled ex-lover, despite the fact of only sleeping with you once.
What about me?
You'd fall out of bed.
Like, I fall out of bed onto a knife or spikes or something?
No, the fall itself would kill you.
What did I ever do to you?
As much as I love your theory, honey, I'm afraid I don't have any entitled ex-lovers. Though, I wouldn't be opposed to you being one.
Damn it, you're right. I changed my answer to shot execution style for knowing too much.
Now that's the way to go out. The drama and danger of my end have to fit those of my life.
You're in a rather dangerous situation right now.
Am I?
You have purposely withheld information from me, knowing that I, of all people, will stop at nothing to get it.
I was wondering how long it was going to take you to figure it out. Give me one moment.
Miss Adler walks away, giving Mr. Hyde, whose anger has only increased at Miss O'Connell's prediction of his death, a chance to air his grievances.
Scarlet Adler? Seriously?
She hired me.
And you trust her? You know what she does for a living, right?
She runs this club and a lucrative blackmail business. But she can't blackmail me. I don't have any secrets.
That doesn't mean...
James, I know. I know what she has on you. I know that you will never trust her. But if she's willing to, Scarlet has the resources that can solve this case within 5 minutes.
You know about the files?
Scarlet was a tad concerned when she hired me that you had something to do with Northcott's murder. I assured her that it was ridiculous, and she showed me what you did. For the record, I don't think you would kill him. It's just not you.
Are you sure? Are you really?
James!
It would have been easy to kill Northcott. He doesn't have security. He doesn't carry a single weapon on his person. At this point, he doesn't even count as a human being.
James!
It wouldn't have taken much effort. Slitting someone's throat can't be any harder than slitting an envelope open. And really, you're the only even slightly competent person on this case. Avoiding detection would have been like child's play. You forget, Nessa, that Northcott murdered my father. And you also forget that I would do anything to get what I want. How else do you think I'd be a lawyer given my criminal record? You're right, Nessa. We don't know each other. And don't you dare think that you know what I'm capable of.
Mr. Hyde storms off, leaving Miss O'Connell confused, staring after him, trying to understand. Oh, when Miss Adler re-enters the room.
I see Mr. Hyde has left us prematurely. Was it something I said?
No, it was me.
What could a pure soul like you do to warrant such a dramatic exit?
I always have to have the answer.
Coming from someone with first-hand experience in the matter, knowledge is power.
It's not knowledge. I have to pretend like I know what's going on even when I don't. Otherwise, what good am I?
You're a good person.
Oh, like that matters! No one wants a PI who doesn't have all the answers. No one respects a woman who doesn't know what's going on at all times. I have to pretend like I know what's happening every damn second of my life. I have to pretend like I know that guy even though I haven't seen him in years because I told someone I knew him. And they will stop at nothing to discredit me, to make me seem like a complete idiot or liar. And I will never give them that chance.
You don't have to have all the answers here. Instead, I will. These are the tapes from the morning of the murder. Or, well, a copy of them. I was supposed to destroy all copies, but then I remembered. I'm a naughty bitch.
Jenna exits for her break. And then 2 minutes of nothing. Wait, but who's that?
That's the million-dollar question.
You're not paying me $1 million to answer it.
$1,000 question?
I wonder if Jenna would pay me more.
They're odd, aren't they? Walking into the crime scene, I almost thought their disguise is real. But when they come out after the murder, you can see them adjust their hair like it's a wig. Also, if you look very closely at the left forearm, you'll see that it's covered in blisters. Probably from the chemical they used to try to kill Henry.
Interesting. Is there anything else in particular you'd like to share with me?
No.
So you didn't steal the knife that the killer used?
Why would I possibly do something like that?
Lots of reasons. But my best guess is you're using it to blackmail someone.
You know my policy, Nessa. I only share what I want to share.
Having figured she'd gone long enough without alcohol, Miss Adler steps over to her bar and begins to mix herself another drink.
Why'd you hire me to look into the case if you already know who the killer is?
I have my reasons.
Why did you take the knife?
Perhaps I'm protecting someone.
Scarlett Adler is many things. A seductress, a manipulator, an alcoholic. But it seems people have forgotten the most fundamental thing she is. Human. Such a simple sentence, declaring her love for someone else. It's enough to render Miss O'Connell speechless. Miss Adler takes the momentary reprieve from the fighting to take a sip of her drink.
Oh, that's poisoned.
What?
That is 100% poisoned. If I had to guess, I'd say hemlock. I've tried to build up an immunity, but it takes forever. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to call the police.
Let's go to the emergency room. I'll drive.
In that precise moment, Inspector Lawley's enters into the club. Impeccable timing.
Miss O'Connell, Miss Adler. What a coincidence that you're both here.
Lollies, not now. Scarlett's been poisoned.
Has she? Or are you avoiding me, Miss Adler? Oh.
Whoa.
She actually was poisoned.
Please help. She just passed out. Please hurry. We don't know how much time we have.
Miss O'Connell kneels next to an unconscious Miss Adler, looking up at Inspector Lawley's. The fear in her face reveals just how young she really is.
What can we do? How can we help?
All we can do is wait for the ambulance. Once it comes, I'll give you a ride to the hospital. Trust me, I never wanted to see Scarlett get hurt.
Nessa hangs up the phone. Still cradling Miss Adler, she says silent prayers to any god who would listen to her. Lawley stares down at him. His face is a blank. His hand moves closer to his gun. It's hours later as James Hyde knocks frantically on an apartment door. He nearly falls through it as Sarah Dent opens it on the other side.
Is Nessa here? Please tell me Nessa is here.
No, she's not.
Damn, I've been calling her for 3 hours now and she hasn't answered. She was in the club when I went back to check, but her car was still there. Why was her car still there? I can't just leave what I said to her said. I was mad and not thinking clearly and I hurt her feelings.
Miss Dent, already having a vendetta against Mr. Hyde, sees her opportunity to take revenge. She grabs the broom and begins to strike him upside the head with it. He, understandably, begins to run away from the crazy lady, hitting him over the head with the broom. And she, also understandably, gives chase.
Get out!
What the hell?
I said get out! How dare you hurt another person that I love?
What?
First you sleep with my sister and now you break Nessa's heart?
Well, wait a minute.
And surprisingly, Miss Dent does. Standing on the opposite end of the couch, she begins her own interrogation of Mr. Hyde.
Did you ever think that maybe they're too good for you?
Or maybe that's why you did it, to get them on your level.
Why do you even care if I slept with your sister?
Oh, so you admit it.
It's the 21st century. We dated for a year. Yeah, we had sex.
How dare you? First you use her for her body, and then at the first sign of her pushing back, you break up with her.
What? I didn't break up with her because she wouldn't sleep with me.
Oh, really? So you're calling her a liar? Tell me then, why did you two break up?
Based on what you've just said, I don't think you're going to believe me.
Of course not, but I want to hear your excuse.
Well, she was kind of sleeping with multiple people at the time.
Oh, is that really the best you can do?
It's the truth. We broke up because I caught her performing a scene from 50 Shades of Grey with a lit major.
James, at least make your lies convincing.
I'm not lying. His name was, what the fuck was his name? Like Brandon or Brendan or Braden?
Braden Montgomery?
Yes, that's him. They'd been sneaking behind my back for months, that asshole.
Hey!
Him, not your sister. I loved her. I was head over heels, I promise.
Doesn't matter. She's my sister. I'm the only one left to protect her. And you hurt her.
Look, sir, I didn't mean to. I was hurt too. I haven't been in a serious relationship since.
Do you actually care about Nessa?
Yeah.
You're not just using her to exonerate yourself from Northcott's murder?
What? I didn't kill Northcott.
Well, then who did?
Howdy-ho! Is Nessa O'Connell here?
Wait, who are you and how do you know where Nessa lives?
Oh, I'm Scott Blumhammer. Why does everyone want to know my last name?
Your last name is Blumhammer. That's hilarious.
I can just imagine one of those local ad jingles, Blum Hubbard, your neighborhood plumber.
I'm not a plumber.
Okay, so what do you do for a living?
Oh, my family runs a wood shop called Blumhammer Lumber.
So, then what are you doing here, Scott?
I'm here to look for Nessa. Wally's left the station 3 hours ago looking to interrogate her because he somehow got in his head that she was the one who killed Jim's dad. When he didn't come back within an hour, he started to get worried. Richardson's been helping us look for both of them. He didn't even tell her where he was going. It seemed a little odd.
James, you said that you hurt her feelings?
Yeah.
Well, she might not be answering your calls. Let me try.
I'll let Richardson know that Nessa's not here. She went to the hospital to see if she was with Scarlett.
Scarlett's in the hospital?
Oh, yeah, she was poisoned a couple hours ago. Though they have her hooked up to an artificial breathing machine, so she should be fine in 3 days or so.
With Mr. Blowhopper and Miss Dent focused in on their phones, Mr. Hyde begins to take stock of the room around him. In the kitchen, he focuses in on an object, and something begins to dawn on him.
Hey, she's not picking up.
Hey, Sarah, are y'all missing a knife?
Yeah, it's been gone for a while now.
Like, before Northcott's murder?
Yeah? What are you getting at?
Oh, crap. We have to go. Are you tracking Nessa's phone?
What? I would never. I put it on her house keys.
Great, let's go.
Should I call Richardson?
Have her meet us there. Come on, let's go, people.
Mr. Hyde was, for once, right. Miss O'Connell was in danger. It will take her a moment, once she regains consciousness, to realize that she is tied to a chair in a strange house. Through her concussion, it will take her even longer to realize that Inspector Lawley's is sitting right across from her. His hands are entirely free.
Oh, fuck my head.
I tried so hard.
Lolise, what?
I planted your DNA. try my damnedest to keep you out of the crime scene, keep you as far away from the corpse as possible, and still, no one will consider you a suspect. Even with your DNA scattered all over the body.
You planted my DNA?
Oh, for once, the almighty Ness O'Connell's at a loss for what's going on. Too bad only the idiot detective knows.
Wait, did you kill Northcott?
Oh, please, Ness. You can't expect me to answer that. That's too lazy of a question.
Yeah, well, I think I have a concussion, so it's the best I got.
Pathetic. But then again, you always were.
I've never been.
It's pathetic how hard you try to earn the respect of people who will never respect you. And why would we? You're just a presumptuous bitch with no experience and no idea of when to stop.
I've still solved more cases than you this year.
I know. And I don't care. This isn't because of your arrest record. No, this is all a result of that little thesis paper you published 2 months ago.
My thesis has nothing to do with you. Unless you're one of the cops covering up for Northcott.
And you're back in the game. Tell me, have you ever heard of Russian roulette? This is kind of like that, except I'm shooting at you and we won't be taking turns.
Wait, you're going to kill me?
I didn't want to, but my plan fell apart.
Your plan to frame me for Northcott's murder.
It should have been perfect! You had just published an entire paper about how upset you were that Northcott avoided any punishment. I had access to your fingerprints and hair. Using chemicals as a murder weapon would surely be traced back to a chemist like yourself. All I had to do was press an etching of your fingerprints against the vial of sodium hydroxide. You would have your DNA on the murder weapon. Not to mention the DNA I'd already planted on the body.
Really? You thought using sodium hydroxide was a good idea? First of all, using chemicals isn't fast enough to kill someone effectively. Second of all, sodium hydroxide is corrosive to glass, taking my fingerprints with it. Didn't work out the way you wanted it to, did it?
No, it didn't. And I certainly wasn't expecting the backsplash from the vial breaking to blister my arms. Oh, but I had a backup plan. It had to be fate that day I stopped by your apartment to drop off forms for you to sign. In that instant, I remembered Henry framing poor Sarah Dent's mother and how perfectly that worked out. So, I took one of your kitchen knives. If the fingerprints on the vial didn't connect back to you, surely the ones on the knife would.
But then the knife disappeared.
Scarlett couldn't keep her filthy hands out of it, could she?
Yeah, well, you did murder someone in her club.
That wasn't my fault! I had been following Henry for days using that tracker we had on him, and this was the first time I found him completely alone. I wasn't gonna wait for another chance. Not when they came so infrequently.
He knew you. That's why he didn't fight back. He thought you were just a friend coming to talk.
I wasn't a friend. I was a minion.
Were you wearing a wig that looked like my hair?
This wasn't the first time a crime has happened in Scarlett's club. I knew where the cameras were, how many there were, the quality of their feed. So, yes, I wore a wig that slightly resembled your hair to slightly trick the cameras. The wig confused Henry more than anything else. In fact, his final words were, "Are you starring in a drag show?" Great last words, aren't they?
A smile pulls at Inspector Lawley's lips, but it doesn't touch his eyes. Miss O'Connell looks up at him, horrified. This is the first time she's ever seen him happy. Ooh.
I guess I've been monologuing a bit. Now I definitely have to kill you. Tell me, do you think your friends would believe you committed suicide?
If you think I'm not going to fight, then you are sorely mistaken.
After all, I could always pin the blame on someone else. What about Sarah Dent? It'd be poetic irony to see her befall the same fate as her mother. Or Mr. Hyde. It could have been a lover's quarrel.
Ew, we're not lovers.
I could even frame Richardson. Her desperate attempt to be your friend and your constant rejection could easily be seen as a motive for murder.
This isn't fair. I didn't do anything wrong, and neither did they.
You can look for justice in the courts of hell, Ness. But I'm afraid your sentence has already been set.
One last question.
Ah, a dying request.
Have you ever heard of the card game Uno? Bang!
Ah!
Because I just played a reverse card, bitch. Oh my god, Nessa, are you okay? I'm fine. It's a real ego boost finding out that someone wanted to murder you because you annoyed them so much. Means I'm doing something right.
James, move your hand. No, Scott, keep him pinned down. Now, each of you grab his wrist and put him behind his back. A different wrist each. And Detective Richardson handcuffs her former colleague in an absolutely rip-roaring turn of events. You can tell by the tone of my voice how excited I am. Gregory Lawley, you are under arrest for... What was it again, James?
Really? How about the attempted murder of Nessa O'Connell?
The poisoning of Scarlet Adler.
The murder of Henry Northcott?
Obstruction of justice.
Where'd you get the obstruction charge from?
He worked for Northcott cleaning up crime scenes, literally obstructing justice.
He worked for Northcott? Since when?
Oh, right. Y'all weren't here for his monologue. Wait, how'd you figure out all of the murdery stuff? James pieced it all together.
James? James figured it out? Oh, this is a low blow. Yeah, this one really hurts.
It was your missing knife that really made me suspicious. I mean, sure, there was the whole you and Lolly's disappearing at the same time thing, but the knife really sealed it. I mean, you don't just misplace a knife. Those things are sharp and expensive. Then I remembered that Sarah had mentioned that Lolly's had taken her statement when her mother was framed.
You got all that from a missing knife?
Well, there was also Scarlet being poisoned, and the only people that were allowed at the club since it became a crime scene were the police. And I have to say, walking in on him pointing a gun at you was a pretty big indicator.
One last question.
Yes?
Which one of you fuckers is tracking me?
Miss O'Connell glares down the boys. Miss Dent takes that opportunity to run away, but she is soon pursued by her indignant roommate. Scott, go stop them before they hurt themselves.
Why me?
You're the best at conflict resolution. I'd just trip them both.
I'd insult them until they started chasing me instead.
Yeah, okay.
Scott, if you touch me, I will stick this skeleton up your nostril.
You're gonna put me in jail for trying to kill Bat?
I'm settling for putting you in jail for trying to kill her. If I had it my way, you'd already be dead.
That's not what you're fighting. Oh, okay, we're switching to wine now. That's nice.
Well, I suppose I should let you know that nobody got bitten, and things did work out all right. In fact, we are able to move forward up to a wedding. I am not ready for a wedding. Hey, Liam, can I get my wedding hat?
Wedding hat?
Yes,
Wedding
please.
hat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wedding hat, you know?
Yeah, I'll get it. I'll get it.
Fantastic. This is the guy. This is the guy. You know, he's so lucky. You know, we get great lights or I feel like Winona Ryder. Very nice. Oh. This is an upgrade.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, good sir. Wow. It's 10 months later, and Chief Inspector Richardson, hey, you go, girl, Miss O'Connell, and Scarlet Adler are all standing around the wedding banquet, looking at the white tablecloths and admiring the beautiful bouquets of belladonna and holly
couple.
I'm so glad you guys could make it. Yeah, why were we invited? Oh, well, a lot of Dad's friends got put in jail after he got murdered, so we had some extra space to fill.
Okay, but why the hell was I invited? You don't like me.
Oh, 2 reasons. 1, you helped put Wallace away, which cleared Jenna of the murder, making this wedding possible. And 2, half the people here are criminals, so I figured having a cop around would help in case things got messy.
How is Gregory, by the way? I hope he's adjusting to prison life well.
Didn't he poison you?
Did he?
Yes.
Miss Dent and Mr. Hyde take this opportunity to come and join their friends.
Why was I in charge of picking up Sarah? You know I hate the morgue.
Please, they're dead. They can't hurt you. Except maybe squirt some blood on you.
Can we please stop talking about blood?
Of course, most of the blood goes down the blood drains with the other bloody bodily fluids.
Nessa!
Scott!
I'm waiting. You guys take care of it yourself.
Whatever you say, Mr. Northcott.
It's Miss Blumhover, actually.
Fine. Keep the misogynistic tradition alive then.
Why does everyone laugh at my last name? It's not that funny.
It's okay, honey. Anybody else who makes fun of it will give me the chance to use that new letter opener my great aunt got us.
So why don't you tell me? How did you guys meet? Meet and much less fall in love.
Oh, so funny story. Jenna was picking up black hickory from my family's wood shop. And as I was helping her take it out, she made she made a joke about loving hard wood.
and in response to my bad joke, he swung a plank of wood around so fast that it hit him in the face and he apologized to me. I mean, I always knew I wanted somebody nice, and he was nice, and I generally get what I want, so.
Feelings. Gross. Can we change the subject?
Sarah, how's your mother's appeal coming along?
She should be out in less than a month. And who do you have to thank for that? I know. If James hadn't helped me out, it would have taken years instead of a month. No, me. I'm the one who told you to hire him.
Oh, I'm sorry, is that table on fire?
Oh, yeah, that's just my godfather, but we should probably just put it out, though.
Mr. and Mrs. Blumhover, apparently, exit quickly in search of a fire extinguisher.
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen him in years. I should totally go say hi. Anyways, I'm glad everything worked out exactly as I planned.
The group all smile and nod as Miss Adler walks away. They're all about to go back to exchanging pleasantries and enjoying the free alcohol when they all collectively freeze as the impact of her words begins to sink in. All except for Chief Inspector Richardson, of course. She's too busy playing with the tinfoil earrings that she made, especially for this occasion.
Did she just say exactly as I planned?
What did she plan?
Oh, Northcott's murder.
What?
It's obvious, isn't it?
No, it's the opposite of obvious. What the hell are you talking about?
Scarlett planned the entire murder of Henry Northcott. Scott hired her to make sure that Northcott wouldn't get in the way of him marrying Jenna. Then the next day, the man gets killed in Scarlett's club. It's very convenient.
And she just knew that we would all be involved?
Yes, she hired Nessa to look into the case, even though I'm pretty sure she knew Northcott was knew that Wallace was the killer.
How could she have known that?
Well, you see, they had a stand-in appointment on Tuesday nights. Drinks and ranting. He was just as much her informant as he was Northcott's. He just didn't know it.
Scarlett called me the day Northcott was murdered. Said I should go down to the club to talk about it. That's how I ran into you and got involved with all this.
Hold on. Do you think that getting poisoned was part of her plan? She did say that she'd been building an immunity against hemlock. Maybe she poisoned herself.
Say what you will, but Scarlett Adler is a criminal mastermind who has managed to keep herself out of jail and alive, all while blackmailing top-level people and influential people. It's not out of the bounds of reason to say that she could have murdered a man without even having to be there. Anyway, I've started coming up with this new theory about what they actually keep at Area 51. Now, everyone says
We're never going to really know what happened, are we?
Nope.